Hello. Good morning. Okay. So today we are going to be in Trello looking at what's upcoming for various projects that I'm working on. This is the main project that I'm working on right now. We have these tasks here completed and we have moved over into Scrub, which is pretty cool. You can see here that we have spent all of our story points. There's no more remaining tasks. Here I'm going to check what's going on here. Okay, I want to ensure that all trials are similar enough to be pulled in. So when accessing trials, are there 3 for every concentration? Okay, so I put this functionally complete. Can I put this is functionally complete? And then I have a note to myself, write a test to display that there are 3 trials for every concentration. This has not been completed yet. I don't think that this is 8 story points total. So I'm just going to lower this down to 4. And I've spent 2 and I have 2 remaining. So here on my sprint, you can see here that I have this treatment plan. I want to edit this task down to way less time. I think I'm going to put 4 hours. Part of that is already been done, like this is partially complete at this point in time. I reduced my card size by 4. So that gives us a little bit more accurate picture of what's going on. Then create treatment plan for present data. Want to clean up each type so that future studies are smoother. Is each trial statistically similar? Should it be merged? Is each concentration different from other concentrations? So basically for this to be complete, I need to have the data structure, not the data itself, but the structure of the data ready to go into machine learning. Because remember, we have this other part of the project before we move into modeling. It's called Explore, but we want to have our structure completely set up before we move into Explore. So I have a create a treatment plan. That's kind of difficult. And then I have execute treatment plan. So this is a statistician. One, to prove data is either statistically different or not so, that appropriate data is passed into more complex statistics later on. Okay, cool. There are 20. Are they different? And so these execute treatment plan and create treatment plan are really, really similar. Right now I have this as 16 story points. It's a pretty big deal. It's going to take a lot of testing to compare all of the different trials. And I want to make sure that that is done solidly before we move into this explore stage. Okay, so execute treatment plan and then create a treatment plan. These are like execute statistics to summarize present data, I think is a better way to talk about that. And then here, that kind of changes our story a little bit. Okay, cool. So execute statistics. This create treatment plan, I'm actually going to move this card size down to 8. And I'm going to move this statistics. I think I'm going to leave it at 8. And that to me feels like a much better distribution of things. And I think I talked about this the last time that we visited this workspace. And that is, you know, I don't know what my next steps are going to be before moving into Explore. I can say that I want to evaluate data types. So this definitely is going to go in, this is to do. This is a story. This is definitely from the data science point of view. And this is definitely about the data. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy over my story here. Because if I don't, I will forget a part. As a data scientist, I want to evaluate data types so that all are congruent and ready for modeling. What's more is I want to evaluate data types and modify them so that all are congruent or ready for modeling. What this means is we're also going to need to write a it's not right, we need to create a function to do this stuff. Basically what that means is if our text data, well, we have our raw data, right? And then we want to make sure that it's in either integer or float or string type data, depending on what's going on. I know because of communication from the, so I'm gonna actually put from communication from researcher, data types for time and float type data, or for time and temperature type data should be float. We know that our time is measured in minutes and our temperature has decimal values. So we know that we should end up with float type data, and if we don't include or we end up truncating those decimal places, it could affect our study later on. So I just want to make sure that everything is float data before we pass it into our model. And that I want to do before evaluating statistics. Here, what's left here, right? Oh, there are 3 trials for every concentration. Okay. Otherwise, this is complete. And then we'll move into evaluating data types. This scrub and obtain, sometimes these end up being in the same notebook, but the explore, I definitely want to be in a different notebook. By the end of the scrub section, I want to have a data frame that I can pull in, like I can export the data frame and import the data frame without any issues, and into a new notebook so that my notebook sizes don't get too large. That's basically everything that I can think of for this particular project. So I want to go into my portfolio projects and kind of look at what's going on. So this is kind of like a super high overarching kind of type thing. Yeah. So right now under networking, I don't currently have any tasks. I do want to work with the Women in Data Science group. I have some contacts here in the Puget Sound. So I'm going to title this 2023. And I want to look up dates for Puget Sound conference. I got an email about this the other day, so I just want to make sure that I look up the dates and get them on my calendar and, register for upcoming event. And then I kind of want to pull one of my projects together and create kind of like a short 15 to 20 minute presentation to maybe present for the following year for 2024. So I want to develop a talk, 15 to 20 minutes for 2024 conference. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. And I think, do I have card aging? I do not. Okay, power-ups. I want to, card aging. I want to add this for sure, because that gives me an idea of when the last time I touched these cards was, and you can see, it's a little bit rough. And I was talking with my partner this past weekend, and we came up with an idea for this dice rolling center of mass kind of type thing, where it's not dice rolling center of mass, it's dice balancing. And this music is a little bit loud for me. Let me check to see if it is too loud for you guys. Yeah. Okay. So blog. I definitely need to do some work on my blog this week. The best day for me to do that is going to be Thursday. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my personal calendar, which I handwrite, and then move into Google Calendar. And I think, I'm trying to think right now, so these types of regression are different, and they can do different things. And for me to be able to write this blog, I'm just going to put to do, and I'm not going to add anything from my template. For me to be able to write this blog, I need to find a data set. And I'm thinking about using the petal data set. There's a data set that talks about petal sizes and some attributes of petals that is used a lot in data science examples. It's either that or maybe some COVID data. I don't know. So I'm going to have to find a data set to do this linear regression, the ridge regression, and then the kernel ridge regression, and just like I want to show what the differences are whenever you use these different types of regression, and talk about, the pros and cons. So the first thing I need to do is find a data set, and then once I find that data set, I need to run a linear regression. Then I need to run a ridge regression. And this is something that came out of one of my previous projects. And then I need to, make list of pros, cons. I need to develop comparable graphs from each one so that you can see the adjustments. And that's all before I write this blog, right? Because I want to pull this information into that blog. So now at least I have a to-do list for that particular thing. Difference between predict and forecast functions for ARIMA modeling. Okay, so for this particular for this particular thing, I do have a project, ARIMA modeling with housing prices. Yeah. So I definitely have a project that I want to, revisit. Housing prices project. And there's just a lot, in general, there's a lot of confusion surrounding predict and forecast because those words are kind of used interchangeably. They kind of mean the same thing. But with the different functions, the different, between stats models and scikit-learn, and they use, each function uses the opposite word to do the same thing. So I want to definitely pull down verbiage from documentation for ARIMA functions. And then I want to kind of like write a guide for how to implement each one. So that predicting is you develop your model and then you use your model to predict the outcome, the y value for your function, and that can be on past data, whereas forecasting is always on future data. So you want to predict and then find out your model accuracy, and if you have really good accuracy, then you want to move into forecasting, and so so that for how to implement each one, so that predict and forecast are used correctly. Okay. So that's what I want to do for that particular blog. So I can already tell, like, my checklist for this regression blog is shorter than my predict blog. So I think this one is going to take less work. Then add word counts to blog. This is to do. I need to raise it. My particular blog is in JSON, and I would like my mouse, please. Can I just... Here's my mouse. Okay, I got it. Okay. Okay. And it's not JSON in GS, it's JS. Code to find line where this function can be embedded. And then I just need to, implement that code, right? This shouldn't take very long. This I think I'm going to archive because this situation, task, action, results, this is back when I was job hunting in 2020, post-COVID, and this is one of the things that I was encouraged to include in my resume, and I was going to write a blog about it, but I think I'm going to archive that because that's not the direction that I want my blog to go. Okay, then next we have all of these projects to kind of figure out. So we need to add a card. Hold on. I think I can instead go to my templates here. So this templates list here, this is everything that needs to be in a machine learning project. So in general, for the repo, you need to create, a project description, a get ignore, a license. Your file directory needs to be set up, and I use this cookie cutter data science article. I think it's fantastic. It's a great explanation of how to have your your web application, your model, and your data kind of all together in the same repo. Then you need to make sure that your presentation has at the very end, at the end of a project, you should always create, a 5-minute summary presentation of that project. So I want to make sure that that presentation has a descriptive name. The notebook is descriptive. The notebooks all have descriptive names, not just, import or whatnot. And then the data also has descriptive names. And then here, a lot of this can be, a lot of what goes into your repo is set up in this file directory, like your data streams and whatnot. And then in the obtain part of the project, which is what I've been working on streaming, you need to make sure you get your raw data. Then there's this question of, do I bring external data into this project? And that's definitely something that I'm thinking about and considering for my solvent project. That particular data, I think, would be a little bit difficult to get from web scraping. And web scraping is, pulling data out of a web page. So I don't think I need to do web scraping for this particular project. For external data sources, I definitely think I need to bring those into my current project, because my current project just has the time and the temperature. But there is another factor that's varied that we know about, and that's the concentration. So I definitely want to bring in the concentration. Something that I'm curious about is, the ratio, bringing in the ratio of molecules to solvent, something along that line. But that's might end up being codependent on concentration. But if one of them works better than the other, I don't know. We'll find out. Then import all your libraries, and then your NLP. If you're doing an NLP project, your stop words. You need to pull those down. And then scrub. This is kind of like a general list for how to scrub. And I think for Northwind database, the only thing I have is so I'm creating a card from this template, and I want to put this on my Northwind database list, and I want to keep my checklist. So now I'm on the list Northwind database, and you can see that I have my to-do list here for obtain, and it's right there. And then I need to add a scrub as well. So when I was just talking about scrubbing for my current project, I need to make sure that my column names are solid. And I think I mentioned that in one of the streams, like I changed the column names because I wanted them to be really, really clean for future graphs. So that's one thing for cleaning up column names. You want to make sure you manage all of your nans, your duplicates. If you have an infinite number, make sure that you take care of it. Then do you need to backfill any data? Do you need to drop unnecessary data? And this is something that I found out last week, is we do have unnecessary data. So I want to create a copy of this card and add it to my Northwind database exploration. And there it is. Then we have explore. You want to do your statistics here, your descriptive, and your distribution stats. If you're going to do any transformations, they would be done during the explore phase of the project. Then you want to make sure that you have your labels and features kind of sorted out, and then your NLP pre-processing, and then this is when you would do your train test validation splits. I want to create a card from this template and add it to my Northwind database card. And then at this point in time, you can see here on model, I don't really have a list that's really project dependent for tuning. I should have a list. Then for visualization, that is not a complete card yet, but I do have this card called Notebook. And this is kind of just a check as you're going through the project. This is kind of like more of a manager versus an employee doing work. The manager wants to make sure that there's good organizational structure. There's explanations of what you're doing in your code, that all of the functions have doc strings that, if you have an outline, does it hyperlink to other parts of that same notebook? Is there a table of contents? Is the business case established? So I definitely want this to go into my Northwind database exploration project. And then here I have my to network. And on here, networking contact, they suggest whenever you're job hunting to do 8 a week. So that's kind of my checklist. Have I contacted 8 different people? And those people can be at the same company, but have you contacted 8 different people? Then here you can see I have this deployment. I need to create my checklist for that, and my presentation. I need to create checklists for that. And so right now I'm just going to leave these here on my Northwind database exploration, and then I would need to go and check to make sure that I've done all of these things. Here on the repo, you can see I definitely have a project description. I have a git ignore. I have files and images. I think this is the old checklist. Let me, under templates, this should be under repo, I do believe. So I don't want that particular checklist. Checklist, copy items from. I did the first one, so let's do the second one. Add, that one's also wrong. I think it's the last one. Let's look here, repo, to do. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead, we have a project description, we have our git ignore, we have a file directory set up, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete this old checklist here. Then I need to go in and check to see if I have a license associated with that project. That license is something like Creative Commons or MIT, to protect the work that you're doing, even if it's open distribution or open code. You still want to have a license associated with your project. And then I need to make sure I have presentation descriptive name, a notebook descriptive name, and a data descriptive name for everything in my Northwind database exploration project. So next, modeling with housing prices. You can see here, I have done all of these things, but this is a checklist from the old, my old version of the repo checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and add the new one. I have a project description, I have git ignore, I've checked my files, and then these three things are completed, but I want to make sure that I have a license associated with that project. And so you can see here I have a to-do type item. Then under obtain, this is the old checklist, so I'm going to go ahead and import from the last obtain. Then I have get raw data and import libraries complete. Then I want to see if I did any web scraping, if I pulled in any external data sources. This is for NLP only. This is not an NLP project, so I want to make sure that I've gone and done those things. Then under scrubbing, this is the up-to-date checklist for to do. So this is done for my ARIMA modeling. Then under explore, I want to see if I need to look under explore. I want to check to see. Yeah. So I've got everything that I need on this list here. Then under notebook, it looks like that's the up-to-date list. And then I know for a fact on this particular project, I need to check for multicollinearity. So this is going to be something that happens under the model modeling stage. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to-do list here, and I'm just going to add that check for multicollinearity. And that doesn't happen for every project. That just happens for a specific type of project class. So I'm just going to leave that there. And then let's see, this is the old checklist. So I want to go to the new checklist. I have, oh, this is under repo. Okay. Checklist. Copy items from repo, please. I have my project description, my get ignore, file directory setup, presentation, notebook and data descriptive name, but I don't have the license part in the old repo. So this particular project is, I went through and classified aging locus based on protein composition, and it was a, I used BioPython to do it, and that was an interesting learning experience. And I used genetic data that I pulled down. Then I have obtain, and notice here I have my list of notebooks. I had 3 notebooks associated with this project, and I went through and did a to-do list for each one. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually do that kind of like that, and then I want to add checklist from, this is an obtain, I want to add that from my templates card, and here I'm going to change the name here, notebook 2, then I'm going to add another obtain to do. Because each notebook needs to, you know, consider these things. In this project, I had a lot of different, I think I had somewhere around 20 notebooks. It was insane. Then for scrubbing, that is complete. That's the, yeah. And then the explore, I have descriptive transformations, labels, and features. Then I did a word cloud, graph key features, histograms with loci hover labeled. So this is after I went through this project. I added some to-do items for myself here. I have a word cloud, and then I need to get key features histograms. And so that's something that is pending for that particular project. I need to evaluate each notebook, and I think I want to do the same thing that I did for another part of this project. Under notebook, I want to add from my template here. And then I know I have at least 3 notebooks. So I'm just going to add to-do lists for each notebook there. This check for multicollinearity, I needed to do that in this project as well. Right now we have that set up under our modeling. So for model, I think isolation forest, percent predict probability, and optimize for number of features. I think I'm going to pull that over into our model checklist here. I have check for multicollinearity. Let me copy paste because my brain is kind of fried. There's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to copy that and paste that over into my template here. And then eventually I'll I'm hoping to eventually get like a master list of modeling stuff. So if I'm doing a specific type of model, I have basically because I think you can, that's in Google Keep, never mind. I thought you could pull them over and like nest them inside each other, but that kind of doesn't matter because I can just add the model name at the front and delete the ones that don't apply for each particular project. Then here for visualization, distribution of features is actually kind of important for visuals. So I'm going to add that here. So I created the templates after I created these lists, right? Okay, then for my next project, this is, oh my god, that's really funny. Checklist. I need to copy this from my repo template because it has updated information. So fix. I think I was reading this, or reading the README, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many grammar mistakes. Just like later on. Probably when I was doing this particular checklist up here. Okay, then obtain. This is an NLP project, so I've got my stop words there. Scrubbing, explore, preprocessing, notebook, model. Okay, so I'm gonna migrate these over to here. Okay. That's something that's kind of, I don't want to say new to me, but I'm learning is increasingly important, especially for ML ops, which is saving your model history so that you can go back and look at your model and how it's improved over time. This trial early stopping is basically, this is for a bunch of different types of projects. But basically, what machine learning does is it looks at, so basically, you can, okay, this goes into a little bit of differential equations, but basically, everything in the world can basically be boiled down to a math equation, and machine learning attempts to create or optimize an equation based on the number of features that you put in. So basically, whenever you're doing an association, you have your x and your y, and you're comparing them, and it makes a line. Machine learning does that for a series of features, a series of x values to create one y value. And sometimes you don't need to go the whole data set to figure out what those x coefficients should be. And so that's what this trial early stopping is, can you stop earlier in the data set to figure out or optimize for your x values, your x coefficients. And that reduces time and computation. So this evaluate a custom loss function is kind of similar to that. And this is actually, those labels were project specific. Loss function is kind of similar to that idea. Then encoding, decoding. And then that last check item in the model phase here is specific to this Lexile determination project. Then here I have visualizations, 3D graph zoom in. That's something that I want to do for that project because it's really cool. Like the graphing in that project is really, really cool. So instead of zoom in, I'm here just going to put 3D graph so that you can figure out if it's an option or not for your particular project. Then deployment I have as a checkbox. Deployment stuff is going to be really dependent on, like right now I'm using Docker. So deployment is this idea of I have a web app for this project, but it's not posted anywhere. It's not usable because I haven't actually deployed it. I haven't loaded my model and the weights and the whole project into a website yet. Okay, so then I have this other project, amoxicillin fluorescence project. This is the old style of checklist. So I want to copy this from my repo template, which is up to date. And I had these 3 things sorted. This project I am in the middle of. It's a computer visualization project. Okay, and these are some of the papers that I read before starting this project to kind of figure out. I knew that I wanted to do a deep learning project. You kind of have to do deep learning, which is it's a lot more black box than some of the other machine learning style projects. And then I was looking at doing a convolutional neural network. Then I was looking at pre-processing stages for a visual project. And then I was looking at a particular transformation in convolutional neural networks because of what I was doing. I knew that I wanted to that's interesting. Develop general structure for future model. That should be under obtain. Okay, it's not loud for you guys, but it is too loud for me. I forgot what I was talking about. It wasn't under model, it was under obtain. General structure for future models. So whenever you're looking at the data, whenever you first obtain it, you want to have an idea of what kind of project it's going to be. For instance, you want to figure out if you're going to use a regression or a REMA forecasting or a random forest or deep learning. That's something that you should figure out at the very, very early stages. So I've now updated this obtain card, so I want to apply that update to all of my other projects. Okay, cool. Find information on potential issues, and that's what these PDFs are here, is potential issues for the particular project. One example of that in what I've done recently is I noticed that there was a fourth trial for a 3, primarily all the concentrations had 3. So I wanted to figure out what that fourth trial was. That's a potential issue. Then I want to load that data for pre-processing. What that means is I want to get to the point where I have a CSV that I can export and import. So I want this obtain and I just want to be able to export it and import it into a Jupyter notebook with no issue. Okay. That's pretty cool. I'm glad that we're getting to update some stuff. I think here we have scrubbing. Does our scrub template have 6? Yeah, it does. And then exploring, this is not an NLP project, so I'm going to go ahead and get that ready to go. And in fact, for this particular project, I'm still at this, I'm not even to the explore stage yet. I'm very much still scrubbing. It's image type data, and I'm trying to figure out, right now I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it in a way that I keep, because for the particular project, the color is not what I want to focus on. I want to focus on shape, and finding the alien invaders. It's amoxicillin, which is what you take whenever you have a bacterial infection. So I want to look at fluorescence images to figure out if I can see if there is a if it's necessary to add an antibacterial or not, if somebody has an infection or if it's just themselves, Okay, then I have this new project that I've been working on. So I want to go in and make a list for it. And I want to put this next to my projects. And then I need to start adding template cards to this particular list. So I want to add my repo card. And I want it to go on to tracking potential solvent issues. Then I want to go to my obtain card and add this to here. Then my scrub card. My explore card. Sorry, I'm gonna skip this song. I like it, but it's weird. There we go. Okay, so I just made my explore card. I'm going to add my model card, knowing that this is not a complete or exhaustive list. But I do need... What? Oh, I haven't made it a template yet because I'm still making the list. Never mind. I'll add my notebook card then. And the modeling card I will continue to work on fleshing out and developing, and then also the tuning card, the deployment card, and the presentation card. But for this tracking potential solvent interactions, I have a project description. I think if I do this, you'll see... repositories. I need to go to this project. I am waiting for the stream to catch up to my real live self. And this file structure is actually bad. Okay, you can. Okay, so I know that I need to update this particular project description. It's okay to start, but like also my README is kind of garbage. So these are things that I know I need to address. So I'm gonna leave this project description not checked. Do I have a git ignore? Yes, I do. I have a git ignore. Do I have a license? I do. And for this particular project, I use the MIT license. The file directory. Do I have a file directory set up? Let's see. The answer is no. So let's take a look at what that file directory should be. This is what I would suggest using for your directory. You have your license. This is a make file that's for whenever you have an application. Then you have your README. Then you have your data. And I've actually moved to storing my data completely separate from my repo. Then you have your docs. But note that this docs is for a Sphinx project. So I'm not doing a Sphinx project. Then I need to look at models. I know that I will have a model for this project. I do not currently have a model for this project. And I'm going into my my project folder right now. And I'm going to add some files. It's a weird song too. And the first folder, or add some files. I'm going to add some folders. The first folder I'm going to add is going to be called models. And then I want to add a folder for notebooks. And I want to stick my notebook into the notebooks folder. Then I want to add a folder for references. This is anything external that you pull into a project. For instance, during the obtain portion of a project, you can, pull in some PDFs, some other research that you're pulling into your project. Then reports, and then inside the reports folder, there is an image folder. Those are figures. Those are figures that you're going to put into the report. So you generate the figure and then you save it to the reports figures folder, and then in reports you can reference the figures. And then a requirements.txt. I do not have a requirements txt. So what I'm going to do, let's see here. yeah, I'm gonna make my file directory smaller. I want to go in and add, oh, I don't even have it on here. Let's see. I want to add, actually, you know what? For notebook layout, and I want to copy the terminal onto this layout here. Okay, and I want this terminal to be this particular project. Okay, so I wanted to make a requirements txt file. This is, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is you can do conda list, and that shows you the list of libraries that are currently being used in your environment. Then you can do pip freeze requirements txt, and that creates a requirements txt file, and I can see it in my file explorer. And then if I do git status, this will give you the list of things that I've added that have things in them. So I need to, I moved my notebook into the notebooks folder, and that's something that's new and different. I've added the models folder, but there's nothing in it, so it's not going to be shown here in the repo. And that music page is done, so we're starting the next one. Okay, so I have my requirements, and then the setup Pi folder I don't have yet. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and hide that terminal source. Then in the source folder, this is where your web application goes. There's an init Pi, the data to make the data set, the features, build features, then models, predict and train model, then your visualization script to make all of your visuals. Then there's a tox init, basically initialize file, but I don't have tox in my project. So that's cookie cutter data science for the directory structure. I have updated my repository with those particular things. So I'm going to check off file directory. And right now, I'm not done with the project. I do need to relook at my project description because it's kind of garbage for this project. Then I need to make sure that my notebook has a descriptive name. Right now, my notebook name is import data. That's not particularly descriptive, so I'm going to want to update that. But I do have my notebook named in a convention, which is, the first portion is the order of notebooks that you've created or you're working in. Right now I just have one, and so I have 01, and then the second portion of a notebook name is the person that generated it or is working in that particular notebook, and then you have the name, and then of course you have your file extension. So that's on this tracking potential solvent interactions. We updated our file directory to include all the things, and we actually made some modifications. So I'm going to bring that screen back up, and we're going to push those up. So what I'm going to do first is git add requirements txt. then I should have it staged. Yeah. So I want to get commit message, and we're just going to put add requirements.txt. And then we still have our next thing, which is we added our notebooks folder. Then get status. We added a new file, so we want to get add 01. So we deleted the old file and we added it to the notebooks section here. So get status, we should see both. There we go. Since we added both of the changes, we have a renamed to the new file name. So I'm gonna do get commit message. We move notebook to notebooks to new notebooks folder. And then I'm going to go ahead and push up those changes. Okay, cool. So here for our repo, yeah, that's where we're at. So we've pushed up our file directory changes. That's great. So this is where we are with the repo. Then for obtain, we have the raw data. Web scraping, we have talked a little bit about that on this particular project. We're not going to web scrape. Are you going to pull in external data sources? I think so. So I'm going to leave this unchecked. We've worked on importing libraries. This is not an NLP project. The general structure for the future model, this is definitely a regression type project. So yeah, we want to do a regression, and we also want to do deep learning as well. We want to compare those two different types of modeling to see which one is more effective. Potential information in the data set. This, I would say, we have completed. I do want to look at the different types of regression to figure out which one is going to be best. So I would think I'm going to write a comment. There about something to do. And then load data for pre-processing. We haven't yet done that. Well, actually, yeah, we have loaded the data. We've gotten the raw data and we've loaded it into our Jupyter notebook. So find information on which type of regression will be best. Let's go back to our particular project here under obtain. What was the particular, I need to start copy pasting a little bit more. Yeah, find information, and then I want to look at find information on different regression types. And then the description here is going to be my user story. This is something that needs to be done. It is regarding the data. It's from the data scientist, and it is a story. As a data scientist, I want to find information on different regression types so that I know which ones to implement in this project to best mitigate bias. Let's do statistical bias and inform on upcoming transformation on future transformations. So basically this will hopefully save some time down the line. The acceptance criteria is written as action result. So here, when I evaluate model types, I will have information or like have already identified on which type of machine learning is necessary, and additional resources on model type. So basically just make sure that what you're doing has some sort of basis in what other people who are maybe smarter and better at these types of projects have done, so that you have, you know, references and resources and that kind of type thing. So this is something to do. This is something that I want to complete before I move on to scrubbing. And let's see here. Let's go back to our portfolio projects here and look at the obtain section again. That goes into external data sources, import libraries, general structure for future models. It's going to be regression and deep learning. Find information on potential issues in the data set. I want to find out which regression is going to be best for the type of project that I have, and maybe get a general idea for some deep learning architecture that deals with regression type data. So yeah, that's what we're going to do here. External data sources, I'm going to want to pull those in. And then I have a series of libraries that are currently, like I think I said, I have them kind of like scattered throughout as they're necessary. And so here, yeah, I have matplotlib kind of separated out. And then what happens is I pull those up to the top of my Jupyter notebook. So on my next Jupyter notebook, I can just copy paste them over and I'm already ready to go. So repo, that wasn't under repo, that was under obtain. Import libraries. Under notebook. I think I want to put a task here, import libraries managed, or import libraries in each notebook or something like that. I want to make sure that those are really visual and super easy to find. I added that here. Let's go ahead and add that to our template under notebook. And we've already finished another thing of music. Cool. Okay, so I know on repo did I add? I didn't add anything. I added something, I think it was on, yeah, obtain. And I didn't add anything on scrub. On explore, I didn't add anything. On model, we added a bunch. On visualization, I added some stuff. On notebook, I added some stuff. Okay. So I want to go through each project and update the obtain checklist. Do I not have NLP stop words on my template for obtain? I do. That's weird. Oh, I know what happened. Okay, obtain. Right now, on this particular checklist, we need to go to the second to last to get our templates because it's still referencing some old stuff. Do I just need to reload? There we go. And then we want to delete the old list. And let's look at obtain checklist from the template. This is not an NLP project. We have gotten our raw data. We have imported our libraries. This obtain has 12. Oh, okay. Checklist, copy, obtain, add. Then we want to go to obtain again. And we want to add our checklist. And then we want to go to checklist and do our third one. We have gotten our raw data. We looked at web scraping and external sources and we imported our libraries. This is not an NLP project. And let's rename this Notebook 1. And we're going to delete this one here. Then from Notebook 2, same thing. We have our first 4 done. This is not an NLP project. Not an NLP project. First 4 are done. Let's get these ready to go. Okay. Obtain, let's get our updated template checklist. Let's delete the old one. And then here, obtain. That's good. And then we have our new checklist here as well. Okay, then explore, Did we add something to explore? NLP only. Oh, we added something to notebook. Okay. I just saw that we don't have this on our amoxicillin fluorescence project. Okay. Let's go to notebook here. Let's go notebook here. I think I'm going to delete these two for now. Here, I'm going to delete this one. And this one I want to add the new checklist as well. Okay. Okay, cool. And then the last sections that I have that I could touch on here are upskilling. Then I have a bunch of stuff that I want to read. Then I have my new project ideas. Then I have my wish list, which is for physical objects in the world. But this is kind of my overview. So I want to, and I think y'all saw kind of the idea that I'm working with from here, which is my general checklist for things that need to be completed in a project. Then I went to here for repo, and I know that I need to rewrite my project description. I know that my notebook, this is stuff that I want to revisit at the end of the project to make sure that it's in order. Then for obtain, I want to go ahead and pull in my external data. So I want to, that's something I think I want to add here under obtain. External data. And I want to add the verb here, pull in external data. And I want to go to my user story. As a data scientist, I want to evaluate, or not evaluate, but I want to discuss potential external data sources so that the idea behind pulling in external data sources is, yeah, that data was generated and that's great. However, could something that is related to that project be beneficial to model performance? And the acceptance criteria, and this is, I'm going to change this to discuss external data sources. And my acceptance criteria here would be when I look for potential external data sources, I have, I guess I want to put here, I want to discuss with a researcher, scientist, potential excellence to that model performance. When I look for potential, I have a list of options readily available. A list of, I want to put solid options readily available. This is going to be, this is to be done. This is a story. This is about the data scientist. This is about data. So let's go ahead and save that. And then here I want to find external data sources. As a data scientist, I want to have to obtain external data so that it can be incorporated into the modeling data set. And the acceptance criteria here is, when I view the data set, external data is alongside raw or interim data. This is, again, about data. This is data scientist. This is story. This is to be done. Let's go ahead and save that. So we have discuss external data. Then we have find external data. Let's go back to our overview and look at what we have still in our obtain section here. External data sources, we have some to-do tasks associated with that. We have our library imports. Develop general structure for future model. Let's do that. Under obtain, let's do discuss future model structure. And this is just going to be kind of like in a markdown section in the notebook. This is to do, this is story, this is for the data scientist. This does not have to do with code, this has to do with data. Then as a data scientist, I want to discuss future model structure so that time to transform into the necessary data structure for that type of model is reduced. So that's something that can be really frustrating, is whenever you think that you're going to do one type of model and you do all your transformations and your EDA and you spend a whole bulk of time working on something, and then you find out that it needs to be a different kind of model and you have to go back and redo all of that. If you think about what you're going to be modeling first and foremost, then your actions whenever you're doing this pre-processing type work will kind of gear towards what will happen in the future. And so the action here is when I view raw interim data, data structure conforms to future model structure criteria. So discuss, um, it's more than that. Discuss when let's do, the action is move forward in the project. The result is, what I kind of just talked about is, decision making is informed by model choice. Okay, that's going to be kind of hard to track, so that's going to be interesting. Discuss future model structure. And I don't want to get into like the nitty gritty of if data conforms to that model structure or not until we're in Scrub. Ensure data is I guess ready for a future model structure, because there's some criteria that goes into that, and you might end up saving two different processed data types. This is regarding the data. It's data scientist stories to do. As a data scientist, I want to modify data structure accordingly so that so that it's going to be pre-processing time, pre-processing work time is like, pre-processing man hours is better, is reduced. Then here our acceptance criteria is going to be when I view raw or interim data. Well, actually, it's not even raw. This is going to be in the pre-processed folder. The pre-processed data. Everything looks in order for future model structure. Okay. Let's go back and check again for obtain. So we've talked about general model structure. We've talked about future modeling. Find information on potential issues in the data set. I think we have a card for that. Find information on different regression types, yeah. And that comes here after discussing future model structure, right? And also, I think I want to find information on deep learning model architecture for regression style data. This is to do for the data scientist, and this is about code, honestly. This is the first code one that we've done today. Here I have this set up as data. I think I'm going to change this to code and remove data. Yeah. Okay. As a data scientist, I want to be informed about best practices for deep learning regression type data so that designing the model so that the design of the deep learning model is closer, or is best practice. I'm going to do that, is best practice. And potentially, you know, just better. So here, when I review modeling, I want to have an example regression, an example deep learning architecture for regression type data. There we go. Okay, so we've added some more things to our obtain, we've added some more things to our scrub, and that's just based off of kind of our project overview here. And that came from the obtain. Potential issues, that's gonna be interesting. Once we start doing some research into deep learning architecture, I feel like we're going to find some information about potential issues. Then for scrub, we have cleanup column names. Let's do this. On here, let's do this. Okay. Let's do clean column names. And here, this is going to be a to-do. It's a story. It's for the data scientist. This is going to be for code. As a data scientist, I want clean column names so that future visualizations are better, are easier to understand, maybe. And also there's another, and what's it called, or whenever recursive, that's what it's called, recursive, not, I don't want to say code, but pre-processing code addresses any issues found in raw data. And that's stuff like, you know, when I view column names, the result is there are no spaces or breaks in the column name, and the names are in the formatting necessary for visualization. There we go. Gonna go ahead and save that. Then that addresses kind of our overarching thing here for scrubbing. Manage NANs. Let's go ahead and pull that down here. manage NANS. This is going to be definitely a code thing, a data scientist thing, a story, and it's a to-do. As a data scientist, I want to manage NANS. NANS are not a number, so sometimes they can appear because, raw data has been corrupted in some way, or it's just, empty space or something like that. Basically, I want to make sure that in every cell of a data frame, every line of code, every column has no, not a numbers, so that future models don't break. NANS like completely stop everything, so that future statistics as well, so that future exploration and statistics and models don't break. It just ruins your code. It messes everything up. No monkey wrenches, please. When I view the, this is going to be interim or processed data, there are no NANS present. I want to manage means like backfilling or forward filling or filling with the average in these spaces that might have NANS, but first you have to figure out if they're there, right? So that's scrubbing. And then let's look here for what else. Manage duplicates. So you don't want duplicate data, really, ever. Okay. Oh, now I have to go back and do this. Unless it's meant to be a duplicate, I can see this actually being a little bit complicated to address in my current project. Data scientist, I want to address duplicate data so that inherent data bias is removed before statistics or modeling. When I view the duplicate data, it should be on purpose and with an identified reason. And what that means is, in our particular, for this particular project, we have two values that we're starting with. One is time and one is temperature. The temperature might be duplicated, but the time will not be. So our reasoning would be, this is a different time, it just happens to be at the same temperature. So basically you don't want any rows of data duplicated unless it's meant to be there. And that can happen sometimes, and for a couple of different reasons. You just want to make sure it's on purpose. Then manage infinite numbers. Oh, not here. I'm going to go here. This can happen sometimes. numbers. I don't think we'll have an issue with that in this data set unless there's been data corruption somehow. Infinite numbers so that future statistics or modeling does not break. That's honestly, you don't want to stop the process because you have infinite numbers, and there's a way to check for them. When I view the processed data, there should be no infinite numbers. And this is a code data scientist story to do. And we are done with the next music page. Let's go. Okay. I want to get the scrub list kind of all figured out today. Backfilling data is a part of managing NANs, duplicates, and infinite numbers. And then here I wanted to drop unnecessary data, because last time we figured out something in our particular project. Drop unnecessary data. So we found out in our particular project that we do have duplicate data. This is a code thing. Which means we need to go in and we need to pull in some additional information from our raw data. So that's going to be a little bit hairy, but it should be okay. Improving model performance. When I view processed data, each row and column is there on purpose and has been evaluated for inclusion into the final processed data. Okay, and then here I'm going to write a comment about the temperature collection starts after the time begins by some amount. There is potential that time temperature rose are repeated. I don't want to say that because it's not the time that's repeating, it's the temperature is not being affected. There's potential that time temperature rows have not had experimental treatment, and those rows of data should be removed. I think that's the best way to say it. Like, they just haven't had, the experiment hadn't started yet, but we have some records of things before, which is not really necessary for the type of project that we're doing. And in fact, for this particular project, it would actually skew down. And I don't want a skew at all. Okay, so there's our scrub cards kind of picked out. And then under, we know that we're going to have some explore, we're going to have some model stuff. But this is where I'm going to stop the stream today. If you have any questions and you're watching this in the future, definitely just drop a question into the comment section and I will review it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this gives you an idea of how to move from project overview into, you know, actionable items for a project. Thank you so much. Bye.